Hello everyone! Today we're gonna talk about one-page solo engine. It's another one of those solo role-playing systems. It's a really lightweight, pretty elegant one that I had some fun testing out. So I'm pretty excited to bring you this video. So what's the gist? Well, the game describes itself as a minimalist solo RPG role set, which means you can take any RPG you like, any tabletop RPG, and then start playing by yourself without needing other players, or you can play with others but without needing a game master. You'll see it draws on other solo RPGs. It credits them all. So, for example, One Page Mythic is pretty similar. Conjectural Role-Playing Game Master Emulator, or Yoon. You'll see it's very quick to get into because it's only 2 pages of rules and 3 pages overall, but the last page is basically a meta commentary on the rules. Basically saying, oh, what was their influence, what was their idea, little bit of rules, but really, you only need the first 2 pages to play. However, it assumes that you've already played some solo RPGs. It even says it at the end. So if you're completely new to this, maybe you should try one of the easier ones before, like Mythic. So they intend for you to have already a little bit of solo role-playing under your belt before you try this. It basically assumes you know the basics, so it doesn't have to repeat them. For 2 pages, it's pretty impressive how complete this is. You get features like a dungeon generator, NPC generator, and even an X map generator, like those X crawlers where you travel along the map and find some procedurally generated things along the way. And something I really enjoyed, you can use cards instead of dice. So the way the rules are written, you would use both, but I personally really loved using only cards. Let's do a quick rundown of the rules you get in there. Each rule section has its mini explanation paragraph, so you don't have to go back and forth. And there's also at the beginning a small paragraph to help you get started. Basically, hey, at first you want to do this, then that, then this other thing. More on this later in the video. It's meant to be played with dice and cards, but you can easily just say I'm only gonna use dice, or I'm only gonna use cards, which is the one I recommend. So here's the rules you get. Get rules about starting a scene, 2 tables. You get yes or no questions, something called the How Oracle. So if you're unsure about how many enemies are in an encounter, or how good, how valuable a magic item is, then you can ask on the How Oracle and it'll give you an answer. You have GM moves. If you've seen my Grimwald tutorial, it's similar in style. It's basically either to pace things out. So if something is like lacking in the scene, it's getting kind of boring, you can roll one and it's gonna add some spice, something happens. Or if you just failed on a roll, well, you can have a failure move, which will give you consequences, like a random event or a hard choice to make, something that's gonna be bad. You have the Focus Oracle, so action focus, detail focus, and topic focus. It's basically generating some keywords for you to kickstart your inspiration. For example, when you're creating a random event in your scene. And if you're familiar with Mythic 2nd edition, it's just like the meaning tables, except it's more condensed. You have a generic generator, kind of speaks for itself. You have a plot hook generator to start your adventure. You have an NPC generator, which I really like, by the way, to help you generate all sorts of characters, but without a ton of fluff to make it a long process. You have a dungeon crawler system, which is pretty simple, and a X crawler system, which is very elegant. Now, what is the basic gameplay loop? I don't want to give you a full tutorial, but I want you to kind of catch what's in this. So, it uses scenes like in Mythic or CRGE. If this is your first scene, you can generate a plot hook and a random event to give you enough information to work with. Then, based on the context of the game, say what the character is trying to do. So, you give the character a starting goal. If things go as planned, this is what my character is trying to accomplish. After that, you roll a scene complication to add some conflict to it. Sometimes nothing will happen, but most of the times there's gonna be some kind of descriptive word the game will give you that will tell you, oh, something bad happens, you're put on the spot. Sometimes on top of your complication, you will get an altered scene. So it's a second table. Your odds of rolling one are pretty small. It can add something random to the scene, add another complication, and so on and so forth. Once you have the seed for your scene, you're invited to start role-playing, so you will integrate more mechanics from your chosen RPG, and you will also use OPSE to, let's say, ask a question or leave anything to chance. So you can use various tables. The most common ones are the Oracle yes or no, the Oracle how, the NPC generator, and the Game Master moves. Now, since this is all kind of theoretical, I will give you a long example and introduce a couple more of the mechanics as I go along. Say I'm playing some basic Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I started the scene with my rogue going to the shoddy part of town, trying to contact the local thieves network to sell his stolen goods. So that's my goal. Now, to see if this goal is made more difficult, I will roll a scene complication. In this case, I've rolled wouldn't it suck if. Just getting that, I start thinking, well, maybe you will be in trouble with the law. But still, in this case, I don't really know where I'm going with it. So I want a little bit more context, and I roll on the NPC generator. But here, instead of a roll, I have to draw some cards. In this game, some tables are expressly made for cards. You can always use die instead, but you have to roll a lot more if you're going the die-only route. And frankly, I think the cards are super fun, so why would you do that? Cards give you an answer, but they also give you a domain. The domain is simply the suit of the card. For example, clubs are physical, and then in parentheses, appearance or existence, while hearts are social, parentheses, personal connection. So it's kind of a broad category you add to the answer from the table. Now, coming back to my example, when I rolled my NPC, I started with the identity, and I got mystic. And then, since I had diamonds, it added technical. So mystic with a bent toward technical, towards like the mind, something more intellectual maybe. Then for the goal, I got learn physical, and I rolled a notable feature of quirk or mannerism. Then I had to draw again, and I got new social. So admittedly, that's a lot of keywords. Thankfully, you don't have to be too strict. You can use them as kind of a loose guidelines, but don't get bogged down into it. If it doesn't fit completely, it's fine. It's meant to inspire you. So I got kind of inspired myself, and I decided this would be a fortune teller visiting the town in search of a new spot to set up shop. His quirk would be that he picked up the habit of smoking wormwood when he got introduced to it a few weeks ago. But I still felt like I was lacking information. Okay, a fortune teller is gonna be involved. Maybe it's gonna get me in a bad situation. But I feel like I'm still waiting for something. So I used the yes-no oracle, and I asked, did the fortune teller overhear my conversation with one of my contacts? I set the likelihood to even, then I rolled twice for a full answer. The result was no. With that, it kind of cut off a possibility for me, and it gave me enough information to keep going. So I decided the action begins when the fortune teller takes me aside and tells me he glimpsed my future, and he knows I am a thief. He swears he'll mess with anything I attempt unless I give him a service. So, great, now I have to do something for some stranger. Here, you could have asked more questions, maybe to determine what the service is, but if you feel inspired, just go with it. Don't get bogged down. So the fortune teller asked me if I could help him get a house in the city for cheap. He wants my rogue to enter a building he likes and stage a rat infestation. So if my character accepts, I can start a new scene that's at night, that's at that location. Already I have a lot of context, and I could use the rules from D&D. I could do some sneaking, I could do some nature rolls maybe for the rat, some deception maybe, and see what's gonna happen. Maybe I'm gonna get caught by someone. So I have a whole scene lined up for me. So then, as the scene unfolds, whenever I fail an ability check, I could use a failure GM move and draw or roll on that table to give me something a little bit more original than, oh, a guard appears, or oh, I take damage. Well, if things feel a little bit too predictable, if there's no more action, maybe I go in the house, it goes well. Well, I could have a pacing move to help things pick up. In sum, the basic gameplay loop is you set a goal for your scene and check for complications. Then you play through the scene using a mix of your RPG rules and tables from OPSE to see what your character encounters and how they deal with issues. Then, once there is a lull in the action, either you keep the scene going with a pacing move, or you just end it and move to the next one. Then, that means you would start back from step 1, starting your scene when something like action or something interesting you would like to explore happens again. In this next section, I'll take you through my 3 tests. So I did 3 little RPGs to try this out, and I used 3 different systems.